Bonjour everyone, today we are talking about lighting in Blender.
Way!
And I found a really nice setup that I really want to share with you guys. So let's jump right in. So today's video, guys, it's all about lighting in Blender. To illustrate all of that, I'm using this cute and really fun scene that you can download for free from the Blender website in the demo file section under nodes and the cycles section. Inside you will find a really interesting setup that I wanted to explore with you today, guys, and share some insight about. As you know, lighting is really important when it comes to the final step of the process and rendering. In this scene, we have a really interesting setup where there are 3 planes with emissive materials, plus a bunch of light actors all around our characters. What makes it especially interesting is the way the lights are set up. Because in Blender, if you grab a light, you get a default behavior that can feel a bit limited when it comes to fine adjustments. For example, if you remove all the lighting in the scene and add an area light, I can place it here on my character. You will find other settings in the light properties once you select the lights. Now we have the main settings here. The type of light, which of course you can change, the temperature and the color, the power, the exposure and the shape. So if I change the power, the intensity will adjust, of course. I can also change the exposure, the color and the size as well. Increasing the size of the area light will make the shadow softer. But the point here is, what if I want to control the attenuation, the falloff of the light, without affecting the intensity? How can I achieve that with only these basic settings? This is where nodes and shadows come in, because they allow a much more interesting setup for lights beyond the limitation of these default controls. We'll see that under the node section here, but we are going to go a bit deeper through the shader editor. So let's analyze a bit the existing light setup we have here. I'm going to add the one I just created and focus on the light control falloff setup. You can see we have a really nice soft shadow and they stay quite close to the assets. Normally we would expect a much larger light impact across the scene, so the question is, how do we analyze and replicate this kind of setup? So let me expand the UI a bit and switch to the shadow editor. By selecting the light, you can see that actually I have a node setup inside the lights. And this is why I really like this project, because it's very clean and straightforward example of what you can do with light control in Blender. By default, you don't get this. Normally, you just have a simple emission node. And without this extra setup, using a mixed shader, clamp, divide and light path node, you will just have a basic emission setup. If I duplicate this and plug only the emission node, this is a standard result you will get with a regular light setup in Blender. Now if I change the intensity, you can see that it affects the entire scene much more globally compared to the control setup we saw earlier. You can push the intensity higher and as you can see, it still impacts everything in a very bold way. This is where it becomes really important to understand this node setup, because instead of relying on many lights at low intensity, you can use a single light that is much more precisely controlled. Now, if I reconnect the full setup here, even if I increase the intensity, you can see it only affects a very specific area, exactly where we want it. And this is the setup I wanted to show you guys. So let me go a bit deeper into how it works. So basically what we have here is a light path node setup that is in charge of a lot of different aspects of rendering and light behavior. Some of its inputs and outputs only works with cycle, which is what we are using here. So you might want to check the documentation if you plan to use this in Eve. From the ray length, which is kind of the attenuation radius factor you can think of, similar to what you might find in Unreal, we are using that value and then diving and remapping it through these nodes. This means that I'm able to manage and adjust how far the light will actually impact the scene. This divide factor is used to control the falloff distance, essentially defining how far the light reaches. With this mapping setup, I can also shape the falloff curve and normalize the value at the same time. Then the mix shader is used to combine these calculations with the bias emission node, which is in charge of the light strength. And also black body setup that helps define the color of your lights. You could also remove the black body if you want and just use a simple color instead. And that's really it. And I just wanted to share this setup because I found it really powerful and elegant. Of course, Blender already gives you some light adjustment options like linear light and other built-in controls, but you don't get this level of control directly from the default light settings. You can definitely go even deeper, but honestly, this setup is already more than enough to start mastering lighting like a pro. So for example, let's copy paste this setup. I'm going to hide this light and reselect the light we created earlier. You can see here I have an overall lighting that impacts my scene a bit too much right now. Now if I bring in this setup and plug it here, I can get rid of the default node and just connect this instead. Basically copy pasting the whole system. And look at the results. I already get this much more controlled and cinematic lighting. Of course, you do have light channels in Blender, which allows you to specify which objects are affected by the lights, or even control shadows separately. But without even going into a more complex setup, the first thing you really want to handle is the strength and the overall attenuation, the falloff of your lighting. And that's exactly what this setup gives you. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't hesitate to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in 2 weeks, as always, for a new one. Ciao!